All right, starting again here. All right, now, Terrence Popp here with another episode of Live from the Lair. And I was trying to put together a more comprehensive Lair video in regards to the shenanigans and what's going on with China and the United States and the rest of the world. But that is very research intensive, so I really can't go into it yet.
Tryna go out, get a lady every single day. If she ain't getting freaky, get up out my way. So if it's getting routine, just another day.
You ever wonder what it would look like if Teddy Ruxpin and Notorious B.I.G. had a test tube baby? Feast your eyes.
I'm a hitter, I'm a spray 'em all. I'm a shooter, I'm a hitter, I'm a spray 'em all.
Shameless Dab is back on Redonkulous.com promoting his new remix titled Rashida Jones. Yep, there she is. Giggity. Click on the link in the description to give it a listen and show a bear a good time. Space Ghost.
Eat my meat like a diet keto.
But what I can go into, got some questions from individuals that, I've been putting them on the back burner, and I think I'm going to go over them now. Now, the first one, I got this one about 2 weeks ago from an individual who watches my show. He's a veteran. He's got a son who is roughly 17, probably graduated by now. And his question to me was simply this. He's watched all my stuff, so he knows, a lot of the Lair videos in regards to my military career. And he basically said, could you please go over some of the close calls that you had happen to you other than, being wounded in combat, because that's a given. Because his son is, talking a bunch of mad game about Navy SEALs or going into special operations and so forth, which, I'm not going to tell him not to do it. But if you do it, just do one enlistment, get the hell out, go to college, get on with your life, because the culture of the military has been destroyed by the left, and it's going to wind up being run by a bunch of alphabet, pink-haired retards. And it was bad enough when I was in, having the idiots in charge of me making decisions that they weren't qualified to make. And now you're going to have blue-haired, pink-haired retards making decisions on a reality that doesn't exist. And being incompetent and cowards. So it's not a good thing. All right, now, close calls. Okay, combat close calls. I was in country, I think roughly just short of a month. And I was running, I was a sergeant of the guard for the perimeter of Abu Ghraib prison, mainly because I was in the doghouse, because my chain of command that ran the National Guard unit at the time was incompetent at best and complacent at worst. So they wanted me to falsify training RTEPs so the unit could be sent directly into theater instead of going through Kuwait to do much needed, training. And so basically our unit landed in Iraq without being prepared whatsoever. We were plussed up on a little bit of equipment, but we quite literally had no radios, no 50 cals, almost all of our M60 machine guns were deadlined. They worked if you wanted to, use them as a semi-automatic kind of thing, but that's about it. I think we had 21 medium machine guns, and 16 of them had so many deficiencies they should have been deadlined, but we were still using them. And by that point in time, the M60 had been quote unquote rotated out, so we were sucking hind tit. Now that's a side note. It was roughly 8 in the morning-ish. The sun had come up maybe 20 minutes prior. And I was putting in some guards. And literally I had dropped off the first batch of guards when the prison was hit with some Kardoosh rockets fired from the Spaghetti Loop overpass, which is roughly 3 clicks away. For those of you who are not familiar with Kardoosh rockets, they're roughly 8 feet long, with a 6 to 8 inch diameter, depending upon the model that they use. Half that 8 feet is basically an explosive payload. The rest of it is just a rocket. And they fire them into the prison from that location because they don't have to worry about the signature coming up on the Q-36 radar, which detects indirect fire and can direct, counter battery. And this happened like 3 or 4 times. Now, I had just dropped off the people for the tower, and I had the other guys that I relieved came down there in the back of the vehicle. And we literally pulled away about 100 feet, and we had some rocket strikes, and one had hit the apartment building directly on the other side of the tower where my guys were at. And when I looked back, it looked like it had been hit. So, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh shit. So I turn around, and as I turn around, we drive like 15 feet, stop, get out of the vehicle. We're running for the tower because I'm expecting people to be dead. And as we're doing it, another rocket slams on my side of the wall, about, I would say, 70 yards, maybe 50 yards away. And it detonates, and literally the blast is so intense, it knocks all 3 of us on our ass. We get up, we get into the base of the tower. I look up, and the people I just dropped off are looking down. Everyone has a panic look on their face. But, I had a strong sense of relief because nobody was dead. Some people in the apartment building got whacked, but, they're Iraqis. It's not my lane. Though, one of the kids that used to come out and play a lot was injured quite badly. Young little girl, she was roughly 3 or 4. And her brother, like the next day, came out and basically was sad because his sister was laid up and she was dying and they couldn't get medical attention. And I called the Green Beret Express, and they came out and got the girl and a couple other people and took them into the green zone to get patched up. And a few months later, I saw said little girl playing. So, that's a positive thing, I guess, came out of that whole fucking rigmarole. Now, another close call, and this happened years prior to that. And we were doing, and I just remembered this one, and I don't know why, because this one involves pain. All right, they were doing touch and goes in the helicopters, and we were basically doing expedient exfils, which means the helicopter comes, touches down, you have like 30 seconds to get in, and then it peels off. And we had completed our LURS mission. We called for exfil. And I don't know exactly what was going on, if there was, anything in the sector. But we're waiting for a helicopter. The helicopter comes down. It doesn't land. It hovers, 2 to 3 feet off the ground. And we start running for the helicopter. Now, the crew chief on the helicopter gave us no hand and arm signals or anything. I guess I jumped the gun. I got to the helicopter first. And I had, in my haste, I had forgotten that the helicopter generates a whole lot of static electricity. So as I'm running up, I put my hand out for the helicopter, and this blue spark, about 6 inches long, jumps off the frame of the helicopter, hits me in my right hand ring finger, right? Stuns me, my hand goes numb up to here. And I watched in slow motion as the fingernail just peeled back. Okay, the rest of my guys come up, they're right behind me. They saw what happened. They knew I was fucked up. Picked me up, threw me in a helicopter. They got in, and we go off. I got yelled at by the crew chief. The pilot yelled at me, said I could have died. It's not uncommon for people who get hit with that amount of electricity to go into cardiac arrest. And I was, quote unquote, lucky, which I was. Now, since then, the hand has healed up fine. You can't even tell. The fingernail looks just about normal. I don't have any nerve issues that, are long-lasting, and a lot of those high-tension electric injuries. But in my defense, I think I was like 21 and indestructible. So that's the way shit runs. All right, now, another close call. This one's really weird. This involves a car bomb. Basically leaving Abu, going to Victory, which is roughly 8 or 10 miles away. And during that month, there was just all kinds of craziness taking place on that road. And one of the cav units had Bradleys and 113s every so often. I'm second to last vehicle because I'm in a gun truck. And we're rolling by this checkpoint. And as we clear it, literally, this one car, and it was a black BMW, that's what they usually do. Apparently it was a car bomb. Literally goes right by my vehicle, within 6 feet of it, because it came over, it was coming on the left side of the road where it's supposed to be, but it crossed over through the median, about 50 yards of gravel and grass between the two roads, and was coming directly at us. It missed the vehicle, my vehicle. It went by, passed right by. I mean, literally, I was in the passenger seat behind the driver because that's where I sit. I looked over as it went by, and I saw it had one driver in it. He had the bullshit on, sunglasses, and he went by the final vehicle in the log pack, and then 20 seconds later, it detonates. It was this ungodly big explosion, and apparently 2 or 3 the individuals from that cav unit got killed. There was maybe, I don't know, I heard later 5 or 6 severe casualties. I radioed the convoy commander and said we should stop and maybe give aid. He said absolutely not. We're going to continue on. Because it was a log pack, we didn't have the logistics to do anything about it. And, it is what it is. I felt bad about it, but there's nothing I could have done. And, and it just keeps going through my own brain pan is, Joe shit the rag bag and Mr. Car Bomb literally could have detonated right there. Probably it would have wiped me out and got the vehicle behind me, and still probably would have injured a lot of people at the checkpoint. And the only reason it didn't get more people at the checkpoint is after it crossed by the median, they were given orders to fire on the vehicle as soon as it cleared the convoy in my convoys we passed through, and that's what they did. They opened up on it with the Bradley cannon and some 50 cals, and then it just went up in smoke. Now, that's not the only, I've seen 5 or 6 car bombs. That was the closest one to me. And, it's really weird when you get, when you come across something like that. Now, I've faced my own death many times. And each and every time that you come out the back end, you go through a period where holy fuck, just a few more seconds. Could have been me. Oh my God. And I got it. All right. It is what it is. But nobody's getting out of life alive. And when it's your time, it's your time. I had another one involved a airborne operation. All right, I was with 2nd Ranger Battalion. We're doing a routine, training jump. I think we were going out 1,000 feet. Now, I don't know exactly what happened, but we're in the plane. We're doing our deal. A weather front was coming in, so we're trying to beat it. I get the green light. Of course, I'm not the first guy. I hate standing in the door, and I hate being the last guy. I'm just usually one of one of the cattle in between that just runs out the door when the light turns green. I'm towards the end of the stick. I think I have 3 guys behind me. And by the time I go out the door, like, I am so far away from the drop zone, I can't believe they gave us a green light. I mean, literally, I could barely see it. I knew I probably wasn't going to make the drop zone. Immediately, I just start, I start running for the drop zone. I'm closing a lot of distance. I'm looking at the altitude. The guys behind me, I don't know what their problem was, but they wrote it in. A couple guys, one of those guys got hurt pretty extensively. Broken arm and shattered elbow. He wound up getting medically discharged like a year later. And I was literally maybe 20 meters from the drop zone. And I had to pull my feet up. I was basically in L position, and my ass was like hitting trees as I continued to do the fucking, run for the drop zone. And I just, I hit the trees. Now, instead of coming down let me drop this down. Here's the trees. Now, normally you come down like this, and then you hit all the goddamn branches and shit. And that's what injures a lot of people. And God forbid you don't have a broken branch sticking up, because that'll spear right through your meat flesh, up your ass, whatever. I've seen injuries like that, and not pretty. So I was terrified. But I'm coming down like this. So literally, I come down, I clip this one tree. Now I'm like maybe 2 trees from the drop zone, slam into the tree, and then there's 2 here, and I go boom, 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 and I hit every ugly branch on the way down. I had cuts in my head. They just steri-stripped them. They didn't get stitches. Had a bunch of bruised ribs. Like really deep thrombosis bruises on my legs, none on my knees or joints or anything, thank God. And I had bruises from that particular landing for 2 months. I mean, because the medic said, at the force that I had hit with should have broke a femur. But fortunately for me, for whatever reason, I'm not big, tall, strong, fast or anything, but, I've been put together well and can take an insane amount of punishment and still move forward. So luckily for me, my bones at the time held up, and they didn't break. Broken femur is pretty much a medical discharge, because that's more than likely not going to heal to be the same. You're going to have hardware in your body. That's a big no. All right, now I had another question. An individual's asking me about the 8mm Mauser. He's got a line on, I think, 3 of them that are 2 in fair condition, 1 in really good condition. All right, now, he's asking me if it's a good weapon for self-defense and for the upcoming 2-way rifle range. I would say yes and no. Yes, it's a good platform. It is accurate out to about 500 meters. The factory ammunition for that was known to be fairly accurate. And if you even get the World War II stock, if it still exists, was significantly more reliable and accurate than the Russian ammo of its time. Now, with that being said, it is hard to get that ammo. And more than likely, you're gonna have to reload it yourself. You have to get the brass, the primers, you have to research the type of powder and the bullet weights for that particular weapon. Now, I believe they're 198 grain bullets, 8mm. There are a couple companies out there that make match rounds for that. One of them being Sierra, and the other one Barger. Those are good bullets, but all that shit's expensive. And you're better off for the price of these 3 World War II rifles, unless you're a collector. got it. If you're a collector, then price really isn't a big deal. But if you're not a collector, you're better off getting a Savage bolt action with a platform with a heavy barrel, and they come pretty much stock with the accurized trigger. You can get sub 1 minute of angle with those things. You just have to find the ammunition that that particular platform likes, and you can get it for either the same amount or less than the price of the 3 World War II Mausers. Now, I was a Special Forces weapons sergeant. I shot a lot of weapons, and the 8mm Mauser was one I shot the shit out of, along with the Russian counterparts that were 7.62 by 54 rimmed. All right, with that being said, I believe I've run my suck hole enough, and we're at 22 minutes. I'll talk to you guys later. Out.